The Ayatollah Khomeini was a leading imam, a leading religious scholar of Twelver Shi'ism in Iran. He personally inspired the Islamic Revolution in 1979 through his preaching and his pamphlets and books. In that revolution, an American-backed modernistic Islamic government was overthrown, and an attempt was made to restore traditional Islamic rule. They were choosing Sharia, of course understood in a Twelver Shia manner, over modern ways. He then bore the title Supreme Leader. That was a unique position created by the new Islamic constitution in Iran. Remember, he's not the infallible inspired imam. That person has still gone into hiding and will come back someday soon. But he and other clerics also used that title, imam. For a while, American attention was quite focused on him. Revolutionaries in 1979 took a bunch of hostages in the American embassy there, and that drug out for quite some time, and American President Jimmy Carter launched a rescue mission which failed, and a bunch of people died in a helicopter crash. It was quite aggravating and embarrassing for Jimmy Carter's presidency and his administration that this went on. On the very day that Ronald Reagan was inaugurated as president, just to stick it to Jimmy Carter, the revolutionaries let their hostages go. And of course this was all over the media. You can get a flavor of his views from his book called Islamic Government. There are some punishments that are mandated in the Quran, such as cutting off the hand of a thief. In this book, Khomeini adopts a consistent, no-apologies approach. He accepts traditional Shia Islamic law in full, and he wholly rejects Western approaches. In his view, Western law is cruel and not the Islamic approach. He says Western law has mandated the death penalty for possessing 10 grams of heroin. Well, Western, that was really the law under the previous Iranian administration in 1969. Khomeini gives examples of traditional punishments that he thinks are fully just and not at all cruel, such as 80 lashes for drinking alcohol, 100 lashes for fornication, and death by stoning for adulterers. In his view, allowing sexual vices to destroy society is worse than enacting these punishments. You really need to scare people straight so they don't commit adultery or fornication. Outside of Iran, the Ayatollah Khomeini is most famous for a clash he had with another person of Islamic background. Salman Rushdie is an Englishman who was born in India to a secular Muslim family. So his background is Muslim, however his family was not religious. In the 80s, he was establishing his reputation as a novelist, and in 1988 he published a novel called The Satanic Verses. The plot is complex and convoluted, but it features some characters that are modeled on Muhammad and on his wives, and it's not a flattering portrait. He knew he was being controversial here, but, you know, in the West, this is how you get attention for yourself as an author. You write edgy stuff. But although he knew he was being controversial, he had no idea what was about to happen. Word got back to Imam Khomeini about this book, and he issued a fatwa against it, a legal ruling, which was read out on Iran's state radio on February 14, 1989. In part, it said, quote, "We are from God, and to God we shall return. I am informing all brave Muslims of the world that the author of the Satanic Verses, a text written, edited, and published against Islam, the Prophet of Islam, and the Quran, along with all the editors and publishers aware of its contents, are condemned to death. I call on all valiant Muslims, wherever they may be in the world, to kill them without delay, so that no one will dare insult the sacred beliefs of Muslims henceforth. And whoever is killed in this cause will be a martyr, God willing. Meanwhile, if someone has access to the author of the book but is incapable of carrying out the execution, he should inform the people so that Rushdie is punished for his actions." End quote. After this, Salman Rushdie had to go into hiding, and he had to live in hiding for many years. He was assigned government security people from the UK government, and he had to keep his whereabouts secret, and he was very much in fear for his life much of the time. He survived. However, a Japanese translator was murdered, and there were 2 murder attempts that were unsuccessful against 2 other people in the publishing industry. At this point, Rushdie was no longer cocky and happy to be edgy. He publicly apologized. He also issued an insincere statement that he had, quote, renewed his Muslim faith, end quote. But that was just pretending to try to get people off his case. But to no avail. The fatwa was not revoked. Khomeini said, quote, "Even if Salman Rushdie repents and becomes the most pious man of all time, it is incumbent on every Muslim to employ everything he has got, his life and his wealth, to send him to hell." End quote. Rushdie is no longer fearful for his life, and he does make public appearances now. However, hardliners in the Iranian government have continued to affirm this ruling. The government, when they reestablished diplomatic relations with Britain in 1998, gave a public commitment that it would, quote, neither support nor hinder assassination operations on Rushdie, end quote. This is an interesting clash between one version of Sharia and Western practices about free speech. Free speech, in the traditional Islamic view, does not allow for insulting the Prophet. In contrast, in the West, Christians are accustomed to people insulting Jesus in countless ways. They don't think they have the right to stop that, as much as they dislike it. This is an interesting issue then, and it's manifested in other ways, and it will in the future.